What's going on, YouTube? It's Big Brother 749 coming back at you with another video. I'm going to talk about this whole Trump and Epstein's file situation. It's been all over the news, and I'm just going to give you my take on it straight up. Now, for those who may not know, Jeff Epstein was this wealthy financier who was a sex offender. He was arrested and charged for sex trafficking minors, and people wanted to know who else helped him or knew about it, especially other famous or powerful people. And law enforcement collected a huge amount of evidence, as we know, as the Epstein files. And Jeff Epstein died in 2019 in jail, and it was officially reported as suicide. But there were people who believed that he was murdered to prevent him from revealing information about these powerful individuals. And his death and all the problems around it really fit into that belief. And Trump's name constantly comes up with Epstein. They were friends back in the 90s and early 2000s. You know, they were seen in pictures together. And Trump's name was on Epstein's plane records for trips. And Trump had always said that their friendship had ended before Epstein was arrested in 2019. And he denies knowing anything about Epstein's crimes or being involved. And this connection, along with Epstein's strange death and his crimes, has caused a lot of guessing and conspiracy theories, especially among people in politics. People really believe that there was a clients list with names of powerful people involved. And when Trump was running for president, he was out there on the campaign trail telling everybody, hey, I'm going to open up these Epstein files. I'm going to release the client list. Well, we're going to see who's really involved, you know, saying he'll do that if he got reelected, which he has. And Trump supporters, the mega crowd, they ate that up. They really believed this was going to expose some deep state conspiracy and bring down some big names. But then just a few months after Trump got back in office, what happened? His own Justice Department and FBI, they came out this month and dropped a memo saying that there was no client list found of people trafficking underage girls. No credible evidence of Epstein blackmailing big shots. And they said no more files will be made public, you know, citing victim protection and all that. And then a lot of stuff was already sealed anyway. And Trump's base, they were furious and they felt betrayed. They thought it was a cover-up, either by the government or even by Trump himself. You had prominent mega figures openly blasting him, Pam Bondi, and the administration. And Trump didn't take that well. He actually lashed out at them, calling them weaklings and saying that they fell for a hoax by the Democrats. And he basically wanted to dismiss it, telling his supporters to forget about the Epstein files and focus on immigration. And he even went so far as to claim without evidence that the files themselves were made up by figures like former presidents like Obama and Biden, along with former FBI director James Comey. And he even called some of his supporters stupid for caring about it. And this whole situation really shows how easily people can be fooled and how quickly complicated stories spread. Because when people are trying to understand something confusing or feel like important truths are being hidden, they often start to look for big secret explanations. And this is why ideas like Pizzagate, which was completely made up, can take hold. And that's why, you know, and that's also why you see these incredibly wild and baseless accusations leveled against high-profile individuals in politics, tying them to the most horrific crimes. And even these theories might make some people feel better, like they belong to a group. You know, they're often based on things that ain't true. And these false stories can actually cause real harm, pulling attention away from the real problems, and sometimes even putting innocent people in danger. And honestly, I feel with this whole situation with Trump and Epstein's files, I think it's so telling because for years, you know, Trump and his people have been screaming from the rooftop about these Epstein's files, and, you know, constantly giving out these hints that there was some secret clients list that would supposedly expose all these powerful elites in a deep state. And I mean, Pam Bondi herself even went on TV saying that she had a client list sitting on her desk waiting for review. And this just proves what we already think, that people just can't be trusted. And it's really interesting when you think about why people just jump on these wild conspiracy theories that seem to pop up everywhere. You know, a big part of it comes down to this basic human need to make sense of a really messy and often scary world. You know, because when things are unclear or when something big and confusing happens, our brains crave for an explanation. And let's be honest, a far-fetched story, you know, where a secret group is pulling the strings can be way more comforting than admitting that sometimes bad things just happen randomly, or that complicated problems don't have easy answers. Plus, if you're the one who quotes on these, you might gain a powerful sense of being special and smarter than everybody else. But the thing we need to remember is that the real tragedy here are Epstein's victims, the girls he hurt. They wanted him to go to court and be punished for what he did. I mean, he was in jail, but he killed himself before his federal trial. So he was never actually found guilty of most of those really serious sex trafficking charges. That means his victims never got to face Jeff Epstein in court and see him found guilty and punished for those crimes. And just the fact, that the main guy who was responsible for all this is gone, which means there's a huge hole in getting justice for many survivors. And his death by suicide stole their chance to really get justice and tell their stories directly to him in court. And it was painful for them. And instead of everyone focusing on the pain of those victims and making sure all the bad people who helped Epstein got caught, the whole conversation turned into political arguments or wild conspiracy theories or who was blaming whom. And this, made it even harder for the victims to be heard and for them to heal and find justice. They were heartbroken and angry when they lost their chance for justice, and then might have felt frustrated when the focus shifted away from them and started being about political arguments or wild conspiracy theories. And I just think that's sad. But, that's just my 2 cents, folks. This is Big Brother 749 signing out. I'm out. Peace.